Class 8, this is Chapter 8, Asia, Agriculture and Mineral Resource. So, before starting this, let us again look at the map of Asia. Many rivers and water bodies are present in Asia, which supplies regular water to the crops. The soil which is brought down by these water bodies or the rivers are very fertile. So, many extensive fertile plains are present in Asia, which supports agriculture, and that is why agriculture is mainly practiced in the fertile areas like the river valleys and plains of Asia. Now, Asia has a variety of natural resources such as soils, forest, water bodies and minerals. It is unevenly distributed on the continent. So, majority of the population is dependent on agriculture, as the soil is very fertile, which is brought down by the great long rivers. Now, water for agriculture is very important. Asia gets abundant rainfall and which supports agriculture, and through irrigation means it is an artificial way of supplying water to the agricultural fields. So, irrigation is done via canals, water tanks and wells. So, irrigation is important since rainfall is not distributed evenly throughout the year. Means in a particular season, in the monsoon season, Asia gets enough rainfall and it is not evenly distributed. Rainfall is also not evenly distributed. At some places rainfall occurs heavily, whereas at some places it totally remains dry. So, as most of the parts of Asia receives rainfall in a particular season, in the rest of the seasons when rainfall does not occur, then through irrigation water is supplied to the agricultural fields. Now, coming to types of agriculture, there are different types of agriculture which are practiced in Asia: shifting agriculture, intensive agriculture, extensive agriculture and plantation agriculture. Now, coming to shifting agriculture, it is the oldest method of cultivation. It is carried out by the tribals in the forest area or in the mountainous parts of Southeast Asia and in the northeastern region of India. So, the northeastern part of India is Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, all these areas where rain occurs heavily, and it is a mountainous region. The tribal people, they live in the forest. What they do is that they cut down the trees, they burn the trees and clear the forest area. Then they till soil with their primitive tools because they are tribal people, so they don't have advanced tools. Then they sow seeds, reap the crop, and again after 2 or 3 seasons, when they have harvested crop, they leave that patch of land because by that time it becomes a fallow land, it becomes infertile. Then again they shift to other part of the forest and do the same thing. They cut the trees, burn it and then clear that area, and then they grow crops. So, this type of agriculture is done in northeastern part of India and it is banned by the government. Such kind of practice shifting agriculture is banned by the government of India just because it is a wasteful method of agriculture. Why it is wasteful? Because it leads to infertile soil, it leads to erosion of soil, that deforestation takes place. That is why such type of agriculture is a wasteful method of agriculture. Shifting agriculture is also known as slash and burn agriculture, and in India it is known as zooming agriculture. Now next is intensive subsistence agriculture. Now intensive word means where a place where the population is high and the land mass for cultivating is less. So that this means intensive. Subsistence means growing crops for one's own consumption, and agriculture. So intensive subsistence agriculture is mostly done in Asia where the density of population is high. For example, India. In India, the density of population is high and the plot keeps on dividing. Means if a farmer has a large plot, then he divides it amongst the next generation and the plot becomes smaller and smaller gradually. So this type of practice is a faulty law of inheritance. Now farmers, they plow small plots of land, use high yielding varieties of seeds and fertilizers and different means of irrigation. Fertility of the soil is maintained by different methods like crop rotation, which help to restore the lost nutrients of the land. Now what is crop rotation? Once the cereal crops are grown, that in the next season the pulses are grown. Leguminous crops which supply nitrogen to the soil, which makes the soil fertile, and by doing this again in the next season they grow cereal crops. So this is called crop rotation. The other methods like multiple cropping, double cropping, intercropping are also used. Multiple cropping means several crops together are grown. Double cropping and intercropping increases the yield. So double cropping means growing two crops on the same piece of land. Multiple cropping refers to the practice of cultivating several times a year. Most of the work is done manually because the farmers, they are not financially strong, so they do it manually by the farmer's family. Now as they don't have much money, so primitive tools and obsolete techniques are used, old techniques. Manure is prepared using household and animal waste. Yield per hectare is low and consumed by the farmer's own family only. Crops like rice and millets. Millets are the inferior type of crop which are mainly grown in this type of agriculture. Which type of agriculture? Intensive subsistence agriculture. Now next is extensive commercial agriculture. Now extensive commercial agriculture is carried in parts of China, in India, in the Punjab and Haryana region, in Central Asia and Siberia. It is practiced over vast tracts. Now extensive commercial agriculture means, extensive means the land is large, the population is less, and when on a large patch of land with modern techniques, the crops are grown, the yield is doubled or tripled. So those surplus crops, extra crops, are sold in the market, and this is how extensive commercial agriculture is done. So it is practiced over vast tracts of agricultural land using machines for plowing, seeding, harvesting and threshing. Crops like wheat are mainly grown for sale in the market. Smaller farms have formed cooperatives to extend the size of farms, thereby increasing the yield of crops. Irrigation is carried out through canals and wells, particularly in India, Pakistan and China. However, extensive farming is much more common in developed nations. Now, plantation agriculture. Plantation agriculture is the cultivation of one single crop for sale. It requires a large amount of investment. It is highly specialized and organized form of agriculture that makes use of scientific techniques and skilled labor. So plantation basically means once a plant or a shrub is planted, it gives yield for many years. Over and over again, the farmer does not have to plant that tree, means in every season. Once the farmer organizes his field, plants the bushes or the trees, it keeps on giving yield for many years. So such type of agriculture is known as plantation agriculture. So the farmer or the owner of the plantation agriculture is quite rich because he uses all the modern techniques or the scientific techniques to grow crops, and beside his farm he builds a factory where his product is dispatched into a final product. It is packed and then it is sent into the market for selling. So it needs a well organized structure and skilled laborers. Now, it is mainly done in India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines and Sri Lanka. Important plantation crops are tea, rubber, coffee, sugarcane and bananas. Plantation workers live on these plantations and the products are processed in the factories on the estate. The plantations are also called estates. The produce is mainly meant for export. Next, children, main features of agriculture in India. Now, children, what do we understand by the term agriculture? What comes in our mind is anything related to plants or crops, which gives something which is edible, which we can eat. But poultry farming, cattle rearing, fishing, means pisciculture, all are included in agriculture. So apart from growing crops, the farmers, if they keep poultry or for eggs, for their meat, then cattle for milk and the milk products, then fishes, so all these are included in agriculture. So what is the main feature of agriculture in India? Most farms are small. Why they are small? Because of the law of inheritance. The farmer, he gives his land or he distributes his patch of land amongst his children, which makes the plots small. So most of the farms become small, are small. Now, primitive methods of cultivation are commonly used, old methods, because the farmers are quite poor. Most farmers cannot afford high yielding seeds and fertilizers, so they use the low quality of seeds which gives less produce. In many areas, irrigation facilities are inadequate. Means maybe there is no water, or a perennial source of water which can supply water throughout the year. So the irrigation facilities are inadequate. Sometimes it happens that if a farmer digs a well, that water may turn salty or alkaline, which may harm the crops. So all these are the disadvantages of irrigation. Now, storage and transport facilities are also inadequate. The farmer, when he produces extra crops, he does not have a proper place or a freezer to keep his grains, and the transport facilities, as it is not available or the road is not evenly built, that also affects the agricultural crop or produce. Now, crops, a diverse variety of crops are grown in Asia. Some of these are rice, wheat, maize, barley, sugarcane, jute, cotton, oil seeds, tea, coffee, etc. Now, cash crops. What are cash crops? Revenue earning crops are called cash crops. Revenue earning means the crops which are sold in the market for profit, for money, and are grown for commercial purpose. The important cash crops in Asia are cotton. Now, children, when we are mentioning cotton, we should mention the temperature and the rainfall conditions necessary for growing cotton crop and the soil conditions. So, the temperature condition for growing cotton crop is 21 degrees centigrade to 27 degree centigrade, and rainfall condition 80 centimeter to 120 centimeter. It should be well distributed. The soil requirement for growing cotton is water retentive black or lava soil and light and well drained alluvial soil. So, cotton is grown in the tropical climate of Asia. It is suitable for growing cotton. The soil is fertile. There is a regular supply of water that comes from both rain and irrigation. The quality of cotton is determined by the length of the fiber. The long staple cotton is supposed to be of finer quality of cotton. And India, China, Pakistan and Turkey are the countries where cotton is grown. Mostly short staple fiber is grown in Asia. Now next is jute. The temperature requirement for growing jute is 24 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade, 170 centimeter to 200 centimeter, and soil condition alluvial soil found in the floodplains and the deltas. So jute is another fiber grown in the tropics. It requires fertile soil and plenty of rain. The Ganga Brahmaputra delta is most suitable for its growth. Bangladesh is the world's leading producer of jute, followed by India. Jute is used to make gunny sacks, ropes and clothes. Next comes rubber. Now, the temperature conditions required by rubber plant is 21 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade. Rainfall conditions required by rubber plant is 200 centimeter to 300 centimeter, and soil condition is well drained alluvial soil and laterite soil. Now, rubber plantations are found in the wet equatorial regions of Indonesia and Malaysia, where forests have been cleared. Malaysia is the world leader in the production of rubber and is closely followed by Indonesia, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Together, these countries produce about 90% of the world's rubber. The milky juice from the rubber tree is called latex. It is collected in a cup that is placed below the cut made diagonally in the trunk. The latex trickles slowly and collects gently into the container tied to the tree trunk. After it is processed, it is sent out in the form of rubber or latex sheets to be transformed into saleable goods. Now, the collection of latex is done early in the morning. Why? Just because in the early morning, the sap of the rubber tree is free flowing. It does not become thick as it is mainly grown in the equatorial region. The temperature keeps on rising. So, it is generally collected. The sap or the latex is generally collected early in the morning. Now, tea. The temperature conditions required by tea plant is 13 degree centigrade to 25 degree centigrade. Rainfall condition 150 centimeter to 250 centimeter, and well drained, deep, fertile, sandy loam rich in humus and iron is required by tea plant. Now, tea is cultivated in China, India, Japan, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. It needs fertile and well-drained soil. Therefore, it is grown on the slopes of hills in the tropical regions. When the leaves are ready for picking, they are plucked at regular intervals. Only the two topmost leaves and a bud is plucked from the plant. It is a delicate process done mostly by women. Why it is done mostly by women? Because women have delicate fingers and they can efficiently pluck the topmost leaves. Pruning is also done at regular intervals. Pruning means cutting down of lateral branches of a tree. So, in Darjeeling in West Bengal, high quality tea is produced. Next comes sugarcane. Now, the temperature conditions required by sugarcane is 20 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade. Rainfall condition is 75 to 100 centimeter, and the soil condition is well drained, rich alluvial soil and black soil. So, sugarcane is another tropical plant that requires hot and moist climate with fertile soil. Why does it need a moist climate? Because the sucrose content of the sugarcane reduces as it is cut from the main tree. So, to maintain that sucrose content, it is better to grow at places where the climate is moist. It needs regular use of fertilizers to keep the land fertile. It also requires adequate irrigation. Sugarcane is grown in China, India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Philippines, and Taiwan. India is the world's second largest producer. Now, coming to food crops, the chief food crops grown in Asia are rice, wheat, millets. Millets means bajra, jowar, ragi. All the inferior types of crops are called millets, and the pulses like arhar, moong, urad, gram and oil seeds. Rice, the temperature conditions required by rice crop is during growing period it needs 16 degrees centigrade to 20 degrees centigrade. During ripening it needs 18 degrees centigrade to 32 degree centigrade. Now, rainfall condition is it needs heavy rainfall. So, 150 centimeter to 200 centimeter, and the soil requirement is alluvial with subsoil of clay is ideal for holding water. Now, rice is grown in the tropical monsoon regions with rainfall over 100 centimeter and high temperature. Just now I have told you. Now, it is a kharif or summer crop. India and China produce 90% of this crop. It is grown in most countries of Southeast Asia. Good alluvial soil and plenty of water is essential. Rice is also called paddy. It is initially grown in nurseries and later transplanted into the fields. So it is grown in hilly areas through terrace farming. Now children, paddy crop or rice is grown in a nursery, in a small patch of land, and then they are uprooted from there when it gains a height of 6 to 7 centimeters, and then it is transplanted in a paddy field which is filled with water. So the soil is very sticky, and it is done, rice plantation is done by hand. So it is done manually, not through machines. Now it is also grown in hilly areas through terrace farming. Terrace farming is a step farming which is done by cutting the hilly region or the mountains into steps. Next is wheat. Wheat is another staple food which is grown in China, India, Pakistan, Russia and other parts of Southwest Asia. Staple food means the food which is consumed as a proper food. So the temperature conditions required by wheat crop is 10 degrees centigrade to 15 degrees centigrade. Now wheat crop, as it is grown during winters, it is termed as rabi crop. The rainfall requirement is 50 centimeter to 100 centimeter, and it needs well drained and heavy textured soil, especially alluvial and black soil. Now wheat is another staple food, this I have read. It requires cool temperature and moderate rainfall. The temperature and subtropical areas are suitable for its cultivation. In Pakistan and India, wheat is grown in winter season as rabi crop. In northern Russia, it is grown in the steppes and is harvested in spring. Oil seeds such as sesame, groundnut, sunflower, linseed and castor are grown in countries of South and Southeast Asia. Coconuts are grown in the coastal region. Next comes animal rearing. As I have told you, animal rearing and fisheries are also included in agriculture. Animal rearing, Asian farmers do not own large farms as in USA and Australia. Animals are reared to supplement the farmer's income. However, commercial herding is also done in some parts of Asia. Dairy farming is an important economic activity in India and China. In the mountainous region of Central Asia, sheep rearing is done. Camels and horses are reared in the dry regions of Central and Southwest Asia. Fisheries. Asia has a long coastline. Many people living in the coastal areas are dependent on fishing as an occupation. Several countries in Asia have modernized fishing industries which use modern trawlers and equipments. A large number of people in the countries of Southeast Asia, Japan, Russia, China, India, South Korea, Indonesia, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are engaged in fishing. Seafood is very popular in the countries of China and Japan, which has given rise to aquaculture and pisciculture. Asia is rich in mineral resources due to unique geographical conditions. The main minerals are petroleum, coal, iron, manganese, tin, tungsten, copper, lead, zinc, aluminium, gold, silver, mica and precious stone. Now, Asia has vast pool of minerals. In the following table, the minerals found in different countries are shown. Now, iron ore, China, India, Russia, Azerbaijan, Malaysia, Indonesia, North Korea and Philippines. Manganese, Russia, China, India and Kazakhstan. Bauxite, India, Indonesia and Russia. Tin, Malaysia, Indonesia, Myanmar, China, Thailand and Vietnam. Mica, India. Gold, India, China, Mongolia and Russia. Silver, Malaysia, Indonesia and Myanmar. Tungsten, China, Thailand and South Korea. Coal, South Korea, Japan, China, India and Russia. Petroleum, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, Russia, India, China, Myanmar and Indonesia. So, minerals such as copper, lead, zinc and sulfur are also found in Asia. The power resources. Thermal power plants are dependent on coal and petroleum reserves found in Asia. The mountain streams are used for generating hydroelectricity. Industries. The main industries of Asia are textiles, sugar, iron and steel, electronic and electrical goods, machine tools, computers, shipbuilding, automobiles, heavy engineering, chemicals, fertilizers, cement and oil refining. Refer to the table given below for the distribution of industries in Asia. Electronic goods. Prominent countries are Japan, iron and steel, Japan, India and China. Textiles. In China, India, Japan and Taiwan, textiles are set up. The industries such as shipbuilding and electronics are set up in Japan, Korea, China and India. Consumer goods are set up in Singapore and Malaysia.